The SP 500 and the Nasdaq 100, as we look at what's happening here on the Nasdaq, you can see clearly that we are getting a nice move on the day. So we saw basically going into yesterday, a nice little drop. And then since the end of the day yesterday, we've been steadily making higher highs and higher lows on the 2-hour and the 1-hour chart, steadily getting that nice push here on the Nasdaq back above 1837, pushing back into 18425, all the key levels that have been mentioned here. Now, Nasdaq has been maybe the ugliest of the indexes if we look at that. But if you go a little further into something like ES, it's more clear, right? The level we talked about was 52.57, very clearly there. That was your previous all-time high established in early March. So from that point, you go back to the 2-hour. As you can see, we broke above, we retested, and continuing back up. We want to see the ES S&P 500 get closer to 5,300 and get back above that to get back in the room of back into pushing of all-time highs. You also saw Dow get a little bit of a bounce as well, a little bit of a flash drop, but bouncing back up. Also, ES is definitely the dog in this race and doing most of the work. The major level you're looking at for the Dow is going to be right here, your previous all-time high around end of February, right? So back around 39.77, 39.8. So that's what you're looking for there on the Nasdaq or on Dow in particular. Now I'm going to go into SPY here in a second, but you had Powell talking on the day, and it was pretty interesting. So let's go over the good and the bad. So first we'll go over the good. So Powell, first things he said is, I don't think inflation is reversing higher, and that they're on pace with where policy is. Okay, inflation expectations are consistent with 2% inflation. So overall, things are still on plan. Things are going well. Now the bad, I don't want to misinterpret or say anything too good or too maybe negative. We look here quickly. On inflation, it is too soon to say whether recent readings represent more than just a bump. We do not think that it'll be appropriate to lower our policy rate until we have a greater confidence, talking about rate hikes, rate cuts, until the inflation is moving substantially down towards 2%, which they're getting in that range. And then it goes on a little bit further, as I can show you here, that showed 12-month rate of 2.5% for February, 2.8% for the pivotal core measure, and virtually everything else sitting above 3%, which you have to argue that some of these other rent measures and things along those lines will only be affected to the downside once they cut rates because of what's happening with the demand in the housing market in particular. Okay, so those are the biggest things there, and he still thinks that they are happy with where they're at and they're moving in the overall direction. So inflation still moving down towards 2% on the sometimes bumpy path, which they've said plenty of times. More Fed members did kind of lean towards this viewpoint as well of cuts are still coming, 3 cuts for the end of the year. That's their expectations. Now, that's that there. Now, also, too, going into Edgeful, we look really quickly at some of the data. They actually did add futures, by the way. So I haven't been using futures too much. I've been sticking with stocks, but you can go over futures as well for that data. But I just want to go over that volume so you can see really quick. So volume typically upticking here. We go back into SPY, and we want to see that path of normalcy, getting back on the trend of what's been happening with volume and key data. So in the after-hour, SPY is up a little bit, but you can still see we're moving very sporadically. Okay, 58.60 million here on the volume on SPY. We can still see we are upticking throughout the week traditionally. You are on the downward path here. Volume is terrible. It's awful. Now, what I will say, looking back at the charts, is you would assume if you're getting a break out to the downside, you would assume more volume to step in to kind of give confirmation to that trend change and what's happening there. That's not happening. So SPY, you're just stagnating here, and it shows me that buyers aren't in the market, so volume is lower right now. And so what you're seeing is sellers try to step in, but they're not showing follow through. They're not getting aggressive. So again, I still side with the uptrend thesis. Okay, big things to understand there. Now, as far as price action, what's happening here? Green, red days by weekday. Wednesdays have been flipping towards green. Thursdays have been one of our best days of the week, along with Mondays. So that's what we're looking for here. If we get a strong day tomorrow, I do think we'll peak out on Friday. So I would assume continuation to the end of the week. I don't think today was bad whatsoever. I think, honestly, the market's just been setting up for major buying opportunities. I'll get more into that here in a second. So going into SPY, again, really clear that we understand the overall trend in which we're trading in, whether we like it or not. You're in a clear uptrend all the way back since November. I mean, that's just where we're at. You come to the bottom of the trend, you bounce. It is what it is. You're bouncing over previous all-time highs as well. Established there, beginning of March, like we discussed. Really clear there. Going to Qs. Now, Qs, although it has been a little bit more choppy as of the past 2 weeks, I mean, you still look at Qs and you're in an uptrend since the beginning of November. Still very, very bullish. Further, I do want to give a shout out to the sponsor right now. Moomoo is the new platform that I am personally going to be using when it comes to options and all things on my trading right now. Just to give you a heads up, for any new user, when you transfer from another account or you make a deposit of up to $300, they will do a cash reward of going into the 7 free fractional shares of the MAG 7. So you're not getting these trash overall names. You're getting some decent names as well, and those will be fractional. The link is down below. Expect to see more examples from these guys from me, especially in the options area as well. I'll be breaking down their platform here on the channel. But yeah, let's get back to it. So yeah, you're clearly still in that uptrend, and that's something that we have to be able to identify and not be, biased against. And I think if you've been biased against it, you've lost a lot of money. So that's what's happening there. Again, IWM holding up decent, not really doing much, sitting at 205. Now this is where I think the opportunity is at right now. When I look at broad tech, even though, again, let me just get rid of all the drawings so you can just see clear. When I look at broad tech, the big names that have carried us over the last basically year, okay, NVIDIA, it's consolidating at highs. Simple. Microsoft, it's consolidating at highs. Simple. Netflix, about to erupt from highs. Congratulations, but still consolidating at highs. Meta, consolidating at highs. Are you noticing the theme here? Now, there's a few names like Apple that have had bad news. Google had some bad news, but they've bounced back and they're sitting at highs. But ultimately, we see the same theme from most tech, big tech, right, that have carried us. They're at highs. They're consolidating there. So despite the Nasdaq, despite what everyone wants you to say, we're pulling back, we're this, we're that, the Nasdaq's just consolidating at its highs right now. There's no reason to freak out or go against the structure or the trend. And if you do, that's your own business. But yeah, it doesn't seem like the logical play. Personal opinion. So again, understand that. And when we consolidate, we get some of the best moves. I'm going to go into my names here in a second that I'm trading, but let's go into DXY and yields. DXY on the day dropping, clearly very weak. That's a good sign there. US 30-year yield. We want to see the yield start dropping as well, but we need that to happen sooner than later. Usually the yield kind of lags behind the dollar, but we'll see. And that's what we want to see. It's dropping back down, hopefully. Okay, now equities, what am I liking there? Number one, again, I'm going to go over my favorite names first, and I'll move on further. Robinhood, you're holding near highs. You're making higher lows. Longer term, love it. Personally here, I like 2025, 2026 contracts. That's what I'm leaning with right now. Okay. I like what Robinhood's doing. I think it's very strong. I think they're going to have good earnings. I think that a lot of promise here for the stock. I could see this hitting over $30 in the next year. One of my favorite names, clearly. Next up, Target, one of my other favorite names. You had a retest of our zone of 181, the key level. We came back down to our 200 SMA. You're just sitting there. As long as you hold the 200 SMA on the weekly, I'm very bullish. So I like Target. I have been getting more of this personally. But yeah, I love Target longer term. Great looking name so far. Now, this is where things get more interesting when we start going into tech and what's happening here. Now, we had some good day trades throughout the day, some quick ins, some quick outs. Okay, I'll be clear. I have been less aggressive overall as of recently, right? But we can see some of our levels that are established here on the 2 hour, what's happening right now, right? So we can see our Lux Algo level is coming up here, which also too, if you're interested in Lux Algo, the link is down below. If you use code OD40, you get 40% off. So yeah, there's like a limited amount of those, so take advantage of what you can, but use all of our custom indicators with those guys. But yeah, you're coming back in our level. We need to back above 510 to really look good, but you mounted 504, great start in the right direction. Biggest names right now that have the most upside. I've been saying Amazon into 186. You're halfway there now, so congratulations. 186 probably coming. Clear ascending triangle breaking out as we speak. Looks really good. You're getting what you want to happen here. That's good overall. Google got back into almost all-time highs, kind of trending sideways now. I'm looking for Google to start pushing into 160. Looks really good also. NVIDIA semiconductors, I've kind of like hit the brakes for a second. I want NVIDIA to get above 924 to go long. That's just for there. And then AMD, which I think might be the bigger opportunity. If you ever mount 185, it's going to be a long for me as well at that point too. You get below 174.7, I trade to the downside, but in this range, I am not trading it. Tesla, probably one of the worst names on Wall Street right now, to be honest. All they're doing is getting lowered targets. JP Morgan lowered their target down to 130. So yeah, it looks terrible. Make that really clear there. Do what you want though. Apple, So again, I'm not trading options on Apple, but I think Apple is probably a great opportunity here. Potential bottoming out here. Now, it wouldn't be a double bottom till you mount above 178. But I like where you're at. I don't know if Apple's going to continue dropping. And if the market starts to bounce here, I think Apple bounces as well. And there will only be, hopefully good things on the horizon with all the bad news that has been surrounding them overall. I like Apple here. It looks good as long as you hold above 168.5. That has to be one of your top things to watch on your watch list in the short term as well. Microsoft can't do much here. You got to get back above 427.8. Till then, can't trade it, can't do nothing there. Those are my favorite names, though. Broad market, what I'm watching specifically. I'm also watching Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin's going to show some strength. I think it's going to start bouncing back. I think it looks decent. As long as you're above 64K, you look good. Remount 69.2K, you look even better. Those are my favorite names, broad market, what I'm trading, what I'm watching. If you have questions, please comment down below. Also, too, the Twitter link is down below as well. I'm going to start posting some of my crypto stuff there, too. I don't know if you guys are interested. I'm just posting what I'm interested in, guys. We were doing a lot more structured here, but I just kind of want to do what I like trading right now, right? I don't want to focus on necessarily views or clicks or the links and this and that. I just want to focus on having fun and what I'm trading in the market. Hopefully you guys can learn and get something out of that. If you have questions, comment down below. I'd love to answer them. Me or Jay will get to them. Have a good one, guys. See you tomorrow.